Good morning, everyone. I'm Doyle Panuke, the Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure. On behalf of our Premier, Heather Stefanson, and our government, thank you for joining us here today. I'm here today to announce that we are investing $19.6 million to reconstruct the Provincial Truck Highway 3 in south central Manitoba. Our government has been committed to advancing roadwork projects across the province to improve the quality and efficiency of infrastructure in Manitoba. PTH3 is an important east-west corridor that serves agriculture and the construction industry. It is also an important north-to-south trade corridor connecting the international border crossing in the south. Currently, the surface of this infrastructure is in poor condition and requires the road to be reconstructed. In this condition, spring loading restrictions are in place, and these restrictions hinder industry from being able to transport goods and service to market. That's why it's surely needed. Recently, we have awarded the tender contract to Coco Paving Canada Inc. to renew the infrastructure along Highway PTH 3, which runs through Pilot Mountain and Crystal City. The project includes grade widening, intersection improvements, culvert replacements, and resurfacing with multi-layer pavement. Improvements will also include partially paved shoulders and fully paved shoulders on highway curvatures. The project is scheduled to begin in spring with all aggregated production, culverts, and grade widening work to be completed in fall of 2022. Surfacing work is slated to begin in the spring of next year and anticipating a completion by fall of 2023. Our government strategy is developing a highway network that enables a strong economic activity within and across our borders, enhance transportation mobility and connectivity, and ensure safety and reliability across the highway network is key to advancing Manitoba. This investment of $19.6 million to PTH3 is just one of the several projects that our government is proud to undertake, and we look forward to working with our industries, stakeholders, and all Manitobas to prioritizing highway projects so that we can continue to build and maintain a robust highway network and support the economy through access to interprovincial and international markets. Thank you. I'm now ready to take questions.
Good morning, Minister.
Good morning.
I'm wondering about prioritizing highway projects that support the economy and cross-border and international trade, and I'm wondering about the blockade at Emerson and Highway 75, and you're the minister now responsible for the Emergency Measures Organization. What's happening now with that border delay? Trucking companies are being held up and having to take detours, which is adding to the cost of shipping goods. What is the government doing to address this?
Well, the thing is, the issue right now is a federal issue. I was able to talk to my counterpart, the Federal Minister of Transportation, and we had discussions this weekend. And the important thing is he wanted to know what our situation was in Manitoba. And with Highway 75, one thing we don't have, like on Ontario, there's a river, we actually have many access points. And if anything's coming from the west, they can direct themselves down south of Brandon to the Peace Garden, I guess the port. And then there's also many other ports. Yes, it is an inconvenience, and I really like to see the blockades discontinue so that it's important for economic development, like economic for businesses like trucking companies, because they're losing a lot of money in this blockade. And the thing is, the truckers, there's a lot of independent truckers too that are losing valuable time and money, and they have to feed their families too. And it's important that we obviously look at these are all Manitobans, and we want to have the respect for peaceful protesting, but at the same time, we want to make sure that our trade is still with the U.S. and it's important.
And so is your government willing to speak out and tell the protesters to go home? They've made their point. It's time for the blockades to end.
Well, we want to make sure that they're peaceful, but at the same time, it is affecting trade, and we would encourage them to have their peaceful demonstrations, but let our truckers that are going out to the States and our industry continue with their work, because it's so important, because no matter what industry you're in, we've been really badly affected by COVID, and we want to make sure that these businesses continue growing after COVID is over, and we want to make sure that we have we have these channels of transportation, and that's important to my department.
Would you like to see the military come in and help?
I don't think it's necessary. I think what can be done is, like, there has been some talk with our premier, and we want to make sure that the conversation happens, and the importance of that, how it affects all Manitobans. And we're this COVID, we're all in it together, actually.
Well, we're hearing now that there might be an impact on if medical shipments and vital goods like neonatal supplies. We're checking to see if that's in fact correct. But you know, when goods that people need to survive and to live are impacted, isn't that an emergency? Isn't that something that the Emergency Measures Organization should be addressing or dealing with?
You know, that's something that when the blockade's happening, they are letting sensitive cargo coming through. Also, that includes livestock, but also at the same, emergency vehicles are also allowed to go through. And we want to make sure that if there's anything that is vital to help our healthcare system and stuff like that, is either have them redirected and know that immediately, or make sure that they get through Highway 75.
And one more question about flooding. We're hearing from North Dakota that there's a concern, the heavy snowfall, the snowmelt. What are you hearing about what's coming this way?
You know, our department's always in conversation with North Dakota because it's so vital, because we are in the same watershed. And so our department's continuously monitoring North Dakota. Also Saskatchewan, we actually had people go out there and measure snow in Saskatchewan. And our line of communication is always open. And we'll have a report, later on into this winter here, sometime in March, to give Manitoba's, anything can happen between now and spring runoff, right? So we're actually monitoring it and making sure that it depends on how the snow melts. There's going to be a lot of variables out there.
Okay, we're going to go to Zoom.
Okay.
Thank you. A reminder to our reporters on the line, you will have one preliminary and one follow-up question. Up first this morning from the Brandon Sun, Colin.
Good morning, Minister. I was hoping you could tell me how many kilometers of highway will be rebuilt as a result of this project?
Well, thanks for the question, Colin. There's going to be approximately 5 kilometers of the highway is going to be reconstructed, and that includes some curvatures of the highway for more shoulders, and it's basically creating an opportunity for the highway to become an RTEC highway, so there's no weight restrictions going forward on that particular piece of highway. So that Highway 3 will be an RTEC highway all across the province.
What do you think will be the economic benefit of having this road not be subject to weight limits anymore? It's
very important because we have a huge agriculture industry, and as farmers get bigger, they have bigger trucks, and of course our elevators and inland terminals are further and further away from the farm, and it's important that we have a network of crisscrossing highways of RTEC highways to transport this vital grain to market. We also have a number of processing centers now in Neepawa, Carberry, and Portage, and we want to make sure that all farmers have the abilities to transport, no matter what direction they're going, to deliver their commodities.
From CBC Manitoba, Marina.
Good morning, Minister. You are saying that the federal government is responsible for the border, but we know in Windsor the reason that bridge was cleared was because of a provincial state of emergency, as well as a court injunction from industry. Mm-hmm. So why will the province not take any action to deal with a border closure that has gone on for days now?
Well, that's the responsibility of the Justice Department. They work with the RCMP and actually that lead from the RCMP to if when it comes to the actual situation. And right now, unlike in Ontario where there is a big manufacturing for car manufacturing, transporting goods and services back and forth from Windsor to Detroit, which is a very vital created a lot of people not working in the auto industry. That was so important. In this situation, the situation here is that we have a lot of trucking of livestock that are going south, and that's getting through still. But with the other, because we have border crossings so close, within 20 miles from the Highway 75, there's these other options, and we want to make sure that we have talks with the protesters to sort of, we want to diffuse the situation, but at the same time we want to make sure that we work with our Justice Department and then continue. Hopefully, we don't want our transportation corridors to be blocked any longer.
Minister, it seems like putting the blame on the province's Justice Department then. I'm curious as to why you're relying on protesters to ensure whether or not medical supplies and livestock are going to get through. We know for a fact that the hospitals are struggling with supplies.
Yeah, we're doing everything possible to make sure that the cargo gets through, and we're keeping monitoring the situation on a regular basis, and we're working with, and our department's working closely with the RCMP if there's any assistance that we could provide as a Department of Transportation, and we will assist and make sure that the supplies get up here as quick as possible.
Can you provide some information on what your department has done to help with the situation?
Well, we're monitoring with our. We actually have our. We actually continue having our motor carrier enforcement officers in the always monitoring the situation with the police RCMP, and the department is always willing to provide like signage if it has to let other important say trucking industry, like say the livestock, to go through. We'll actually provide the signs to help out the enforcement of our RCMP.
We now return to the news conference theater.
We have any more questions?
Just about in Ontario, like the Premier Doug Ford did call out for the Emergency Measures Act there. There was the injunction at the border. Yeah, they do have a very vital length of corridor there that so many jobs rely on. But here, people are saying, you know, it's been over a week and this is a disruption, and why let it go on? I understand nobody wants the situation to get out of control and you want to defuse the situation, but how long do governments appease protesters who've made their point and have said they're not going anywhere unless the government bends to their will?
Yeah, that's something that we're going to, as our government, our Premier is going to, had an invitation for when it comes to letter. And I'll see if there's going to be talks where if I'm going to be included in that. That's something that we're going to have to monitor the situation and make sure that we can have this as a have it closed down, like have the blockade taken out, you know, with talks and do it peacefully, because we want to make sure that there's a respect on both parts.
And you're the member for Turtle Mountain, correct?
Yes.
And what are you hearing from your constituents about this?
You know, like again, the majority of my constituents, they know how economic, you know, it's an impact to their. A lot of them are farmers, a lot of them are business people, and they know the importance of making sure that our commodities get to their markets, no matter if it's in Canada or the U.S. They're wanting to make sure that we can get this through this peaceful and have an end game when it comes to this pandemic. I think we have been 2 years in this pandemic, and I think people are tired of it. Thank you.